Hello, students. The flowers used in the Tiananmen Square flower bed in 2020 include more than 200 plant varieties. Under natural conditions, some of these flowers bloom in January and February, some bloom in May and June, and some bloom in November and December. How can we make them bloom neatly around October 1st? This is related to the photoperiodic phenomenon that we're going to study next. Today, we will mainly explain from 5 aspects: the concept of photoperiod, the types of plant responses to photoperiod, photoperiod induction, the role of photopigments in flower induction, and the application of photoperiod theory in agricultural production. First, concepts related to photoperiod. 1. Photoperiod. In the day-night cycle, the alternating lengths of the light period and the dark period. The relative length of day and night is called photoperiod. 2. Photoperiod phenomenon refers to the phenomenon whereby plants control flowering by sensing the alternations of day and night and their relative length changes. 3. Critical day length refers to the longest day length necessary to induce short day plants to bloom, or the shortest day length necessary to induce long day plants to bloom in the diurnal cycle. The second types of plant responses to photoperiod. Plants can be divided into 7 photoperiodic types, according to their response to photoperiodic phenomena. 1. Long day plants refers to plants that flower only when the day length is greater than their critical day length, such as wheat, henbane, and so on. These plants usually flower in summer. In the figure, we can see that long day plants can flower early when the light duration exceeds the critical day length. Otherwise, they cannot bloom. 2. Short day plants refers to plants that flower only when the day length is shorter than their critical day length, such as xanthium, chrysanthemum, and so on. These plants usually bloom in the autumn as shown. Chrysanthemums that experience shortened light time to less than the critical day length can bloom early, and vice versa. 3. Day neutral plants. Flowering is not sensitive to day length. Plants that can flower under any day length condition, such as cucumber, sunflower, and so on. These plants can flower all year round. For long short day plants, flower induction process requires long days, flower formation process requires short days, such as Kalanchoe degrammantia, aloe vera, etc. 5. Short long day plants. Flower induction process needs short days, flower formation process needs long days, such as bluebells, white trifolium repens, and so on. 6. Intermediate day plants. This type of plant can only bloom under a certain medium length of sunshine conditions. Extending or shortening the day length can inhibit its flowering, such as sugarcane flowering requires 11.5 to 12.5 hours of sunshine. 7. Ambiphotoperiodic plants. In contrast to intermediate day plants, such plants maintain vegetative growth under medium day length conditions, and flower only under longer or shorter day lengths, such as Soteria viridis. The main types among these 7 photoperiodic reaction types are long day plants, short day plants, and day neutral plants. Third, the roles of the light phase and dark phase in photoperiodic induction. When plants reach a certain physiological age, after receiving enough days of suitable photoperiod treatment, even if they are subsequently placed under an unsuitable photoperiod, they can still maintain the effect of this stimulus and flower, which is called photoperiod induction. We can think about the respective roles of the light phase and the dark phase in photoperiodic induction. Hamner and Benner's experiments on the effects of different photoperiods on the flowering of xanthium have shown that the length of the dark period is more important than the length of the light period for plant flowering. Dark phase experiments further showed that dark phase length plays a decisive role in plant flowering induction. So what role does the light phase play for plants? Experiments on soybean flower primordium formation under different light phases showed that the light phase could increase the number of flowers. The flowering reaction of short day plants requires a long dark period, but too short a light period cannot lead to flowering either. The fourth, the role of photopigments in flower induction. 1. Phytochrome is a pigment protein complex that absorbs red light or far red light in plants. 2. The main forms of phytochrome are as follows: PR, red light absorbing form, PFR, far red light absorbing form. The two can be converted into each other. The dark reversion from PFR to PR functions like an hourglass timer, allowing the plant to sense the length of the dark period. 3. The effect of phytochrome on plant flowering does not depend on the absolute amounts of PFR and PR, but depends on the magnitude of the PFR-PR ratio. 1. Short day plants. Their flowering requires a relatively low PFR-PR ratio. 2. Long day plants. Their flowering requires a relatively high PFR-PR ratio. 3. The PFR-PR ratio will increase when the dark period is interrupted. Even under long night conditions, a brief light flash interrupting the middle of the dark period can still allow long day plants to bloom, while inhibiting flowering in short day plants. Fifth, application of photoperiod theory in agricultural production. 1. Plant introduction. Southern China mostly has short day plants. Northern China mostly has long day plants. Generally speaking, when introducing short day plants from south to north, the flowering period will be delayed, and the growth period will be extended. Thus, early maturing varieties should be introduced. When introducing from north to south, the growth period will be shortened, the flowering period will be advanced, and late maturing varieties should be introduced. Long day plants are just the opposite. 2. Breeding. Through artificial photoperiod induction, the breeding time can be shortened and the process of breeding improved varieties can be accelerated. For example, short-day plants such as corn and late rice can be bred on Hainan Island and then planted in the north. Long-day plants such as wheat and rape can be bred in Heilongjiang or Qinghai in summer and in Yunnan in winter, which can produce 2 to 3 generations in a year. 3. Control of flowering period. Artificial control of day length can advance or delay the flowering time, which is important in horticulture and floriculture. For example, by extending the daylight period or using light to interrupt the dark period, chrysanthemums can be made to bloom as late as New Year's Day or the Spring Festival.